Welcome to today's webinar with ATG. I appreciate you tuning in today to learn about the Esri Living Atlas. This is an amazing collection of well-curated and dynamic data, and it's all easily accessible within the ArcGIS Professional Workplace, also online, and we'll be doing some exploring with this shortly. My name is Jason Artley. I am a Senior Technical Specialist here at ATG. We are an Esri Platinum partner. In addition to Esri, we are also a Platinum partner with Autodesk and Bluebeam. Our goal is to be your one-stop shop for software licensing, training, and support. We also have hardware solutions too from MSI and BIMBox. We really like doing these webinars and creating content to help our customers become more efficient and proficient in the software they use every day. If something comes up later today or anytime after you view this, feel free to reach out to me at jartley@atgusa.com. I'm always happy to talk about different workflow solutions or software possibilities. So today we're going to be talking about a feature from Esri called the Living Atlas. We'll start by showing you how to gain access to this treasure trove data and how it relates to the AEC collections from Esri. Then we'll discuss the Living Atlas itself, and we'll explore some of the available content to see if we can find what we need. At the end, we're going to jump into ArcGIS Pro, and we're going to connect to that Living Atlas data, and we're going to see if we can make some design decisions or come through to figure out what we want to do. So we'll have a little bit of dynamic fun with the Living Atlas here in a little bit. First, kind of want to talk about Esri themselves. They are known to be the science of where. They have been the GIS leader since 1969, and their software has been used. It's used in over 350,000 organizations across the world. They're a fantastic company. It's one of the companies I really look up to. They spend over 30% of their revenue on R&D. So they're constantly doing things to improve the lives of the people on the globe by helping so many different folks, as well as making the software more dynamic and powerful. Their CEO, Jack Dangermond, he's one of the greats. He deserves to be up there with Steve Jobs and Elon Musk and whatever big CEO you tend to look up to. So if you're into that sort of thing and draw inspiration from great leadership, certainly look into Jack. I'm constantly blown away by some of the things he's done. This is taken straight from their website. Esri was founded to help solve some of the world's most difficult problems. We do so by supporting our users' important work with a commitment to science, sustainability, community, education, research, and positive change. Those are all great things to be committed to. I can't fault them there. So when we're talking about Esri as a whole and how it relates to us, ATG, as a platinum partner, that gives us access to be a reseller to their new AEC collections. So typical of most software companies these days, Microsoft and Autodesk and everybody else, they're trying to give you a collection of software packages for one price, and you get that through a subscription. So before we talk about getting into the Living Atlas, we're going to talk about these collections, because some of these are going to be how you're going to access that Living Atlas. So with this, the collections that are out there, there's actually 7 if you consider the AEC Basic, Standard, and AEC Advanced versions of the first one. So there's the ArcGIS for location and design, ArcGIS for site selection, ArcGIS for field operations, ArcGIS for collaboration, and the brand new ArcGIS Online Drone Mapping Collection. So if anybody's into drones or reality capture, stay tuned for another good thing we've got going on this Thursday. I'll mention more about those things at the end. All right, so let's look a little deeper into each one of these collections. The first one is the ArcGIS for location and design. This comes in those 3 different versions, the basic, standard, or advanced, depending on what level of ArcGIS Pro that you need. For all of these collections, it would be 1 collection per user for the most part. There's a couple exceptions where you get additional users depending on the type. So this ArcGIS for location and design, this is probably the most basic one for most user types. It's going to give you that license of Arc Pro, as well as give you that online creator license so you can get all your stuff online. There's also ArcGIS for site selection. This also includes that Art Online Creator and the GIS Professional basic license, and it also adds on the add-on for the business analyst. So this is a very, very powerful utility. If you were trying to figure out, where you're going to place a building based on certain demographics or usage types, this is the license that you would go for. Next up is the ArcGIS for field operations. This also gives you the creator and the GIS basic, but it gives you 3 field worker types. So if you're using the Arc Collector, a very fantastic tool, we've done webinars on that feature on its own in the past. This is going to give you 3 online field workers, and those field workers will then be able to go out and use that Collector app to populate that online map with data. And then the last one that comes with the GIS Pro is the ArcGIS for collaboration. So again, you get the creator, you get the GIS Pro, but then you also get that module of the AEC project delivery. So they're really working hard to, sort of, I don't want to say compete with, but perform in that space of the BIM and the project delivery and going through the whole project lifecycle. Last up is the brand new online drone mapping collection. If you've ever heard of SiteScan, it was a software by 3DR, one of the most popular and powerful drone operation software there is. Esri purchased them last fall, and they've now added it to their collection. So when you get the online drone mapping collection, you get 2 licenses of SiteScan for operators, 1 license for the single access. You also get additional credits. So when you're using Arc Online, some of the things that you do, whether it be storage or analysis, they require credits, and you get so many with each license or each collection. But the online drone mapping one comes with an additional 14,000. So that's about enough for a standard firm to get through for a year. So those are the collections. Pretty straightforward. Some good offerings there. If you already have these, then you know what you have. And if you don't know which one is best suited to you, reach out to us and we can help you walk through that. So with these licenses, this is how we're going to get to the Esri Living Atlas. So the Esri Living Atlas is what we're here to talk about today. This contains layers, apps, and other data that is all curated by Esri from reliable sources. So that means that some of this data that we're looking at is actually done in-house from Esri, and some of it's done with other partners that they feel worthy or trustworthy, which is kind of a good thing. There's so much available free data out on the internet, right? We can pull down parcels and different locations and so much stuff, but how good is it? Is it old? Is it out of date? Can it be trusted? Was it actually surveyed? There's a joke in there about the whole GIS acronym, but I'll save that for later. What is the data any good? So this Living Atlas is designed to be, as it says, living, which means once we add this data to our map, whether it be online or through Pro, any changes that happen are going to be reflected. So some of the data that we're going to be looking at is real time. Some of it was from yesterday. Some of it was from 3 hours ago, but it's all very current and it's from a trustworthy source. So let's dive right into this. If you want, you're welcome to type this URL in to your computer. I'm going to go ahead and move over my web browser. Hopefully everybody can see this. I'm just going to use Google Chrome, and I'm going to use the Living Atlas. Now, I do not need to be signed in to view some of this data. So that's what makes this so cool. There's so much out there that we can view, and we can start to see the possibilities of what this can do. Now, we can't add it or view anything like that or do too much in it without having a license, but we can certainly explore it. And that's what I would encourage you to do if you're a little curious. We'll look through some of this stuff online first and just get an idea of what's out there. And then we'll jump into ArcPro and we'll actually add this to our map. All right, so one of the questions that came up was, is Esri US based? And yes, they are. They are headquartered in Redlands, California. One of the most beautiful campuses I've ever had the pleasure to view. It's just amazingly well done. Kind of goes back to my thing about the CEO, Jack Dangermond. He's a landscape architect by trade, and he helped pick out every little tree and bush and rock that is sitting on that campus. So, you know, he gets a lot of credit for besides just being a CEO, he's just an incredibly talented person. And that is an amazing campus. If you're ever in the Redlands, California area and you're looking for a career, I would stop there. Pretty much, that'd probably be my first stop after getting a delicious burrito from that little place down the street. Anyway, so let's talk about the Living Atlas. So on the website, from that Living Atlas link that I put up there, we can see all of the different information. There's, it's nicely categorized, so we can see all the data, what's trending, base maps, imagery, boundaries, people, infrastructure, and environment. Now, speaking of environment, we've been, what, 6 months or so into this COVID thing, and I'm sure most of you have seen the COVID outbreak map. I'll pull this up here. It's been out for a while. I haven't opened this in a while, and ooh, those numbers are much larger than they were last time. But this is one of those things that Esri is working behind the scenes to do this, right? We see ArcGIS in the title. This Johns Hopkins University COVID map has been one of the most popular ones out there because it's constantly updated with global data. It's a little scary, you know, those are some big numbers, and that curve isn't anywhere close to flat currently, but you know, this is all rich data that is real time. And that's a similar way to the Living Atlas. So anything that's important in our world, COVID-19, hurricanes, fires, there's all sorts of things like that. Now, if we look at this Living Atlas, we can see currently there are 8,671 pieces of data. Here we can sort this by country. Do we only want the United States? Do we want the stuff that is only from Esri? You know, do we want global? I mean, there's all sorts of things. Just to simplify this list here, let's go take a look at what's in the United States. That's ATG's reach. You know, we're only dealing with the United States, so let's filter this down. In the United States, we have a little over 2,000 results, still a great amount of data. And we can start to think about, you know, what sort of data do we need for our project, and, you know, how can it help us make design decisions? So let's start looking through here. I'm just going to leave this on all content types, and we're just going to scroll around a little bit and see what's going on. So we can sort by relevance, popularity, things like that. So let's see what's most popular in the United States today. And there we go, right? There's that COVID-19 dashboard that I just showed you. There's also the boundaries of the US states. That's important to have. Zip code points, another good piece of data that I might want in my project. US counties, you know, National Geographic style maps. There's different, I mean, that probably shouldn't be in the United States, but there's different base maps and web maps. And some of these pieces of data, some of them are feature layers, some are tiles, some are, you know, background imagery. So there's a bunch of different things. I've even seen some apps in here as well. So there's a ton of information, and it's pretty darn impressive on what is available. And you can see that these feature layers, if you see who it's by, you know, some of these are by Esri, some are from the CDC. These are pretty trustable or trustworthy authors. So let's start looking at some of this stuff. and we'll start to think about what we might want to show in our project. For this, I've thought of a couple different scenarios. How can we search this for different data? How can we use this to make some decisions? So I'm going to open up one of these online first. So let's go up to, where was that social distancing one? There we go. So there's a unicast partner. So this is one of the partners of Esri. They have a social distancing score. So this goes through whenever one of these objects that you select on the Living Atlas is going to give you a little bit of data. So when you publish data from Arc Professional to Arc Online, you get the ability to give it some details, give it a description, give it some notes and some tags. So that's what Unicast, I'm guessing that's how you pronounce it, has done for this COVID data, or this social distancing. And with this, we can see this data is updated twice weekly, which means that once we add this to our map, we can expect twice a week for those values to change. Hopefully they're changing. Some of these scores aren't very good. So, but let's go take a look at it. So depending on which object you click on, what layer you click on, you're going to have different functionalities or different things available to you. Do I want to open this in a map viewer, in Arc Scene? Do I want to open it in desktop or in Pro? Some of these I have that availability. Some of them I can only view it online. So in this case, let's just view it online. And there we go. There's the United States, and we can see what we've got here. There should be some value. So let's go take a look at, well, there's a whole bunch of red. This is kind of terrifying, right? So what does red mean? Let's go to Florida. They're in the news for a bunch of outbreaks. Ooh, their grade for that county is an F, because the average distance traveled here is barely decreased. So they I don't know how they're getting their data, but they're giving these counties an F. There's a C. So if you're interested in to see how your county ranks, this is something you can pull up on the browser of your choice, go to that Living Atlas, search for social distancing, and it will be right there. I've already found my county, and we've got a D-. So we've got to do a little better than that. I hope to come back to this map in a few days and see some of this red go away. But on a different note, let's go find something else that's a little more positive if we can. We've got community maps, we've got counties, zip codes. Even with the zip code points, if we click on this one, we're going to get this similar options. This is by Esri themselves, so I can trust them. I can see the layers that are in here are just going to be those zip code points. So if I were to open this in the map viewer, our points should pop up only in the US. And we can just go click on any one of these pieces of data. This looks like somewhere in Iowa. So there's Dike County, there's their zip code, there's their population. So there's some good data that would be hard to find otherwise, right? If I'm Googling, it's going to take me a while to find all that stuff. By connecting to that Living Atlas, I've got quick and easy access to it. All right. So we can sit here and look at this stuff all day long. There's a lot of good stuff. But let's go think about how we're actually going to use this. So with that said, let's go take a look at this first, this wildfire. So this is one of those things where I had less options than I had before. We can go take a look at the wildfires, and that's not good. There's quite a lot. So what I was thinking of is how we're going to use this data. Is I'm going to jump into Arc Pro, and I'm going to try to make some design decisions. And I'm going to keep this not thinking about civil engineering or architectural or anything at AEC. I'm going to do this for personal reasons. All right. So what I'm going to do is hop in here. This is the latest version of Arc Pro. There was an update to 2.6 just recently, and I've installed that. So this map is bare. There's nothing in here. I want to connect to that Living Atlas data to start to make some decisions and start to populate my map. So I'm going to come up to the Add Data tab on the Map function, or the Map tab of the Esri ribbon. In the Layer panel, there's an Add Data button. I'm going to come down here and just choose Add Data. This is how you're going to add most of your shape files or whatever data that you have available to you on your network or your organization. So I can see, I can go through my organization, from ATG. I can go through my content, the things that I've done online, or I can check any folder on my server. But I also have this option to go directly to the Living Atlas. So in here, if I want to search for social distancing, there's that same map that we just looked at online. And if I click on that, this will give me yesterday's data. Give that a couple seconds, and then now we're viewing this in our actual project. So that means I can start classifying these things, right? I can go in and see, I can filter if I want only the B's to show up, if I only want the A's to show up. There actually wouldn't be very many. I can do those things, right? So let's get rid of this one. Let's go find another one. So let's start to think about what we want to do. As I mentioned, we'll keep this for personal use. I want to go camping. I don't know about you guys, but I've got cabin fever, something fierce, and I just want to get out of here. I want to hit the road, and I want to go camping somewhere where it's really not a COVID hotspot, and it's not windy, and there's no fires. Let's see if we can use the Living Atlas to give us this data. So let's see, let's search for COVID in our Living Atlas. There's our cases. All right, so let's try this one. Now, some of this stuff I haven't pre-screened, so we're taking sort of a risky approach, but that's the beauty of live demos, is to always explore and sort of simulate what you guys are going to see when you start messing with this stuff. So I can see these are the COVID cases. Obviously, I'm not going around anywhere down here. So I want to go somewhere up in this neck of the woods, which is fine. It's a little closer to home anyway. So let's leave this data on here and start adding some more. So I want to avoid a COVID area. Let's see. I also want to avoid wildfire. Let's see, wildfire, or just search fire. Let's search fire. Fireland potential. Current USA wildfires. There we go. Let's try this. So again, current. I want perimeters because I don't want to just see the main spot. I want to see the whole perimeter. So let's see what gets added in here. And there we go. We can see them in here. Let's go ahead and classify this a different way so they're a little bit more visible. I'm just going to make them bright green. There we go. So now I can see where the wildfires are. Thankfully, those aren't nearly as widespread. Still some pretty bad ones. That's Canada. So far, I'm looking pretty good. If I wanted to go to, Wyoming or Montana, it looks like COVID isn't very widespread, nor are wildfires. So I'm getting closer. Now let's start to think about what else I might be concerned with on this particular fictional camping trip. Go to add our data. I'm big into cycling, and I hate riding in the wind. So what's the wind like? Oh, let's look at the different stations. We'll add those added in here. So now we see these arrows. Again, this is either real time or very up to date. So I can see, in the Glendive area, Glendive, Montana, there's an arrow here. And if I select this data or this point, I'm going to get a pop-up. So currently, direction is going at 200 degrees at a speed of 15 kilometers per hour. Temperature is 75.9. That seems like perfect weather to me, right? So this data is everywhere. And if I'm going to find another one, shout out to our Phoenix folks in our ATG office. What's it looking like down there? Currently in Phoenix, It's 95 and 28% humidity. Wind's not blowing very fast. So pretty cool. Again, this is all data that it's easy to bring right down from that Living Atlas. I'm not downloading anything. I'm not, going to search Google through 1,000 sources to find what I want. It's just easily accessible right here in Arc Pro. So I can continue to go with this stuff and add on. Let's see what else we got. Let's see. Is there any trails? I like trails. Design, just let's see. Some of these are not going to be quite as targeted as I would hope. Maybe if I search for Montana, let's see what we can populate Montana with. Critical habitat, USA wilderness, Blackfoot ferret. That's not very good. Let's see what else. Cycling. Lots of stuff in Hong Kong. Again, this isn't filtered like we were looking online, right? Online, we had it filtered down to the United States. When I'm searching through the Living Atlas while I'm in Arc Pro, I'm going to get all of those things without, unless I spend some time with our other information. I don't know if there's show me a US option here. Okay, let's keep rolling. Road separated bike routes. Hope those are in the US. Those are things I like to see. Those must be somewhere else. Because I have been to Miles City. I'm sure they've got bike routes. So those must be showing up in another location, unfortunately. But I can start to, you can see where I'm going with this. This data is filled with so many possibilities. Let's see what else we can add to this. So we've already looked at wind, and we've looked at COVID, and we've looked at fires. What other things would we want to avoid? I want a campground, perhaps. Nothing. All right, campgrounds. What about BLM land? So there's some Bureau of Land Management lands, and you can camp for free on those things. So let's see if we can get those added here. See if I can symbolize these to make them stand out a little bit more. Bright blue. There we go. Starts to load here. So this is telling me that through my little fictional example, if I want to go camping and I want to avoid a COVID hotspot where it's not super windy and I want to camp for free on BLM land, looks like Eastern Montana is the place to be. There's a bunch of good stuff. So I can make a simple design decision this way, and I'm designing my vacation. If I were designing a road or picking a site for a project or something else, we would follow the same steps, right? I'd establish what I'm looking to do and where, roughly I want to do it. And then I can start to populate my map with the types of data that would give me those barriers, or those targets, for example. So if I were looking for, an area with demographics and I wanted to target, a certain age group or a certain income type, those types of things exist on that Living Atlas as well. So let's go take a look at that too. Let's see what kind of demographics there are. Popular demographics in the US. Oh boy. So I haven't seen this one. Let's see what we get. Let's break this down to state. Let's see what we get here. See what this attribute table says. It's still loading here. So this is 2018, so not quite super current, but let's see if I can get this table up a little higher. Let's go find our Montana. There we go. So we're going too fast there. There's a lot of data in here. Holy cow. A lot of data. This is kind of scary, right? So in my data of Montana, I think I'm still on that. There we go. The population in 2018 was just over 1 million. I can see my population density is a wonderful 7.3 per square mile, which means that while I'm camping in eastern Montana, I'm not likely to find anybody else, which is probably what I want to do, especially when I'm trying to social distance, right? We can see the growth rates. I mean, if I was wanting to use this data for anything else like site selection, or hey, where do I want to live? Maybe I want to live with a bunch of Generation Z folks, or millennials, or if I wanted to avoid millennials. No offense to anybody on the call, but we can use this data for all sorts of things, right? There's so much rich data. And again, this is free. This is amazing stuff that's out there that we can use to just do wonderful things. And some of it's like kind of creepy too, right? Where did this data come from? Some of it came from the census. Some of it comes from, shopping habits and things like that. Whether your home values, and all sorts of crazy stuff is out here. So I would highly recommend you take a look at the Esri Living Atlas. Again, you can hop on that website, that livingatlas.arcgis.com, and just start to take a look at what's out there. And maybe you're going to find something that is you certainly want to add to your next project, or you can use it for work, of course, or you can see like what I did, and I started using it for a fictional camping trip. And now that I found a pretty good spot to go, maybe I don't want that camping trip to be fictional after all. So there's tons of good stuff in here. This is all trustable data that is updated current. It's either current or it will be current because it's constantly getting updated with the available data. So that's what makes this so cool. Is if I were to just go download a shapefile from something I found off of Google and brought it into my site, I'm stuck with that moment in time, and I don't necessarily know where it is or who it came from. I know where it is because this is Esri and we're talking about GIS stuff, but I don't know if I can trust it. With this, that'd be a good thing to add to my map too. So I would highly recommend you take a look at this. If you're ever curious about what the Living Atlas can do for you, I hope I've shown you a few things that it's capable of. So with that, we could stay on this all day and start messing around with additional data, but I'll stop here and we'll jump right back over to PowerPoint real quick. So we did that demonstration. Not much to it, really. I encourage you to go play with it yourself and see what you can find. If you have questions about the Living Atlas or Esri, or if you make a cool web map that you want to share, please send it over. I would love to take a look at it. I like to see what our customers and clients are doing with this software. So with that, we've actually got a little bit more time. So I'm going to jump back into Arc Pro. And I'm going to show one of the questions was, how do I get topo data out of my area? So let's jump right back into Arc Pro here. Oh, there we go. And that topo data, that exists in a few different ways. So let's go to our little area here. So I did find our BLM land, and I found the wind. Also, again, I'm going to go biking and hiking. Maybe I don't want a bunch of elevation. So let's see if we can see some contours. So that data, I can use my base map, right? So some of my base map does have those topo maps where I can swap that out and get my contours. So that'd be one way to do it. But instead, let's go back to the other base map here. Let's use our Living Atlas and stay on theme here and search for terrain. So there's different hill shading, different terrain. Let's see what we can find. Arctic, no. So you see, I'm scrolling down and I come to an end. There is a find more items. So there's a ton of information here. Let's go search for US terrain. Maybe that'll help us filter it down. TV broadcast contours. Is that related to television? Let's not do that. Let's just go for terrain again. Imagery. I don't want an imagery layer. I actually want a feature layer, if I can, that'll give me those contours. Because if you're talking about how to get topo out of that area, we're probably talking about how we're going to export that from Esri into something else. But let's see. Let's try this one. This is an imagery layer, but still it should be giving us what we're looking for. Perhaps. Maybe not. I might have to hit the back button on this one. It's taken a long time, and I hope that's not a connection issue. Topography. Slope in degrees. Now, again, this is probably pulling up the whole world, so I shouldn't expect it to go too fast. But we also can't wait for this forever. So we're going to hit back again. Open topo, world, USA topo maps. There we go. Oh, that was the same base map that I had before. So that does bring in that topo map. So I can get in here and take a closer look. That quality does get better when you give it a little bit to zoom in. But this is just an image, right? It's not going to actually give me contours if I wanted to pull them out. So you can see how that updated as I zoomed in. It's not going to give me contours if I were to export them, unless I have, depends on where I'm exporting to, if I'm, going to use that digital elevation model. But again, all free data. I didn't have to do anything external to Esri. I was either on the Esri website itself, or I was right here within ArcGIS Pro. So hopefully that answered some of your questions, or certainly piqued your curiosity on what is available inside of the Living Atlas. So with that, I want to say thank you. Stay safe out there, wash your hands, stay tuned for our upcoming webinars, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time. So with that, thank you very much. Take care.